You're listening to Safer Travel Talk, the podcast to inform, inspire, and provide insight into the world of travel. In this episode of the podcast, Richard Stuttle catches up with travel blogger Poppy Kuroki. Poppy has lived in Japan for over 6 years and recently wrote a blog for Caroline's Rainbow Foundation with some great insights and advice on how to stay safe in Tokyo.
So here we are. This is our 4th episode of Safer Travel Talk, and today we're talking to Poppy. And Poppy lives in Japan, and Poppy and I have known. Hi, Poppy. And we have known each other for a long time. When you used to do some volunteering for Caroline's Rainbow Foundation back at St. John's University.
Yeah, I think we met at your. You were having an open. You had a stall up, and I came and said hi. And I bought a rainbow badge, and it was on my coat for years. Yes, I think I still have it somewhere. Oh, fantastic. It was on my best pound I've ever spent. Yeah. Best quid I've ever spent.
So yeah, it was really lovely back then for you to do some work with us and promote travel safety and talk about travel. It's as you know, it's through the years, it's really important for us as a charity. So just say hi to everybody, introduce yourself and what we're going to talk about today.
Hi everyone, I'm Poppy. I live in Enoshima, which is about 1 hour outside of Tokyo. I'm a full-time ghostwriter and editor. I also have my own blog, and I love writing stories in my spare time, and I like playing video games as well a lot. So I'm here to talk today about Japan and how I ended up here and why it's a great place to visit, and also some safety precautions you should be aware of if you decide to come.
So Japan is, I don't know, I think it's never taken me as a definitely somewhere I want to visit. But not somewhere potentially I'd like to live. What was your draw there? What drew you to Japan in the first place?
So most people, if you ask this question, they'll say that they visited when they were a child and liked it, or they'll say that they were into like the pop culture side, like anime, manga, comics, stuff like that. For me, it was a little bit different. My grandmother took my brother and I to Disneyland, Florida, the other side of the world from Japan. And they have a theme park called Epcot. Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay.
Maybe I should have.
It's one of their like Disney family
parks.
Mm-hmm. So in Epcot, they have lots of different themes of countries. So they had England, where you could buy like English chocolate, and they had Canada, and they had France, Germany, and China, and Japan. And I don't know why, but I went into Japan, and there was like cherry blossoms everywhere, and there were some people playing like taiko drums. And at that moment, I just turned to my brother and was like, Japan is so cool. And he was like, what, really? And I don't know why. I was 13. I just turned 14 at that time. And when I went home, I said to my mom, like, oh, I really like Japan now. And she was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then what year was that? I guess if I was 14, it was 2007-ish. So I just started learning the language by myself. And I remember my dad, I never let him forget this. I remember my dad said, oh, you'll be into something else in a few weeks. This is just a passing phase. And I proved him wrong because I'm here now.
Yeah.
But yeah, my mom
fluent in Japanese.
Enough to like have a laugh with someone at a bar, but not enough to like do a business meeting. Like I haven't nailed the business. I don't need to.
No,
you know what I mean?
No.
I have no real. But yeah, if I go to like a restaurant or a bar and we meet some people, I can chat to them all night and it's no problem.
Fantastic.
My reading's not quite good.
It seems like a very difficult language to learn.
The reading is, for sure. Like they have the Chinese characters and they also have the 2 of their own alphabets. But speaking, the grammar's quite simple. Like the pattern's always the same. And they have no words for like or the.
Right, okay.
So when they learn English, it's really hard for them. They're like, why do you have these words? And it's like, I don't know. I'm sorry. You know, from my teaching days, you find out what they struggle with. But it's a lovely, I mean, I've loved learning Japanese since I was 14. I had a real passion for it. Of course, when you have a passion for something, it's easier, right? You find it more fun.
Of course. So when did you visit Japan after that? When did you first visit Japan?
So I really liked Japan from a young age, but my family didn't really have any money. So I always said to my parents, like, can we please go to Japan? And, you know, they checked the flights and were like, no, sorry, you know. And then my grandma always promised she'd take me, but she had her own stuff going on. So I always thought like, okay, I'm going to go when I'm old enough. So first year at university, someone was, you know, what do you call it? The welcome week
Mm-hmm.
Someone had a Freshers Week, that's it. And they had the bunch of stalls up, right? Like pizza and banks. And one guy was there, he was a big guy. I wish I remembered his name. He was like 6'2" and he was like really big. And he was like, "Do you want a Santander account?" And I was like, "Okay." So they did like an interest-free overdraft. So as soon as I got that, I bought a passport, and then I said, "I've got £2,000. Like, I knew I had to pay it back. I knew that. Everyone was like, "You have to pay it back." I was like, "I know," but it was like an interest-free £2,000 that I could borrow for 3 years. So I thought, So I called my mum and I said, "Mum, I'm going to Japan," and she said, "I know your second year's study abroad, right?" I went, "No, I'm going next week." And she went, "Oh, have fun." So fortunately, I had pen pals. So since I had been 14 and like studying and stuff, I'd use websites to like connect with like girls my age to like send each other letters and sweets and stuff. So nice. I just contacted them and said, "Hey, I'm coming to Japan. Can we meet up?" So I wasn't on my own at all. But
so
that was the first time I went for 10 days. And then I was at the airport at the end, like crying because I didn't want to go home.
Oh, wow.
And the next time was the study abroad year.
So was it everything that you imagined when you went, that first visit?
I mean, I was really starry-eyed, right? Because it's my first time there. And of course, I had friends showing me like the best parts too. So I really enjoyed it. I think I guess I would have forgotten all the bad bits now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like by now, I only remembered the good parts. But I mean, I know I did struggle a bit with the trains at first, and of course I had to kind of scramble to find Wi-Fi as well. But I was quite lucky. I didn't go through any bad experiences that first 10 days I visited, and it was January, so all the sightseeing spots were totally empty as well.
Right. Okay. What was the weather like?
It was cold and bright, so it's a really nice time to visit, to be honest, because skies are just blue.
Fantastic. We don't get that here.
Yeah. It was really hot there like 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, we did have a good week. When did you make the decision to actually move to Japan?
I made that decision a few times, actually. Like, study abroad was great, and then I went home, and then I lived in America for a short while, and then the person I was with was American, and then I couldn't work in America unless I was married, right? So we decided to go back to Japan together, so we could both work. And then while we were there, we broke up. Then I stayed.
Right. Okay.
That was 2014, 2015.
Okay.
And then my dad got sick, so I went home. And then I missed Japan so much that when my dad was okay, I came back.
So you came back.
And then I've been here since then.
Fantastic. So tell our watchers, our subscribers and our viewers, tell them a little bit about what they could expect from Japan and a few bits about the safety aspects and what to be aware of.
Okay, so first of all, when you come here, you're always a foreigner. So like, they're always like, "Where are you from?" Or, don't be offended by it. Like, you're not like an outsider. That they're just like, "Oh, a non-Japanese person." Like, "Oh, can I speak English to you?" Like, sometimes if you're not from an English-speaking country, I know a few people who've like complained, like, "Oh, I'm Polish," and people assume I'm American. Like, you'll get that a lot. "Are you from America?"
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah, don't worry about it. They're not being horrible. They're just kind of interested in you because you're a foreigner.
Yeah. Would you say friendly people?
It depends on the setting. Like, don't try and chat to someone on the subway in Tokyo, right? And,
same rules as London.
Exactly. Any big city's going to have unfriendly, like less friendly people, right? So, but like I said, it really depends. Like, if I go to a bar around here in Enoshima, like, they're really nice people. But living in Tokyo for like 2.5 years, like, I didn't meet hardly anyone, hardly any like new people.
Yeah, so. It's that big city, but everyone's anonymous type of thing, isn't it?
Exactly. Try to keep your noise down in general when you're out and about. Like, people don't like to hear lots of people shouting in a different language, like especially on the train. Like, keep it down. There was a few weeks ago, I saw like a group of, I'm not sure where they were from, I think maybe the States, and they were drunk and they were noisy, and I was like so embarrassed for them. So I'm not saying you have to be silent all the time, but just be aware of your noise level.
Yeah, is that
Of
something
course, in
that
a
goes
bar
back
is
to
fine.
culture? Is that something that goes back to like the culture and the history of the country? Do you think they're just, they're more quieter people, or the culture sort of suggests that kind of little bit more serenity?
Yeah, it boils more down to disturbing other people. Like, try not to disturb other people's peace. It's not really a volume thing. It's more like, okay, if you're going to be noisy, you're annoying everyone around you, and that's rude, kind of thing. So it's very, where in the West we're more individual, right? But in Japan, it's like, think of the group dynamic.
Okay,
Sort
oh,
of
that's
thing.
interesting. So do you think there's a politeness there that's inherent in the culture?
Oh, they're very polite. Yeah. Sometimes it's a bit too polite, like kind of scripted, especially in like a shop or something. It's like having a chat with a shopkeeper is like virtually unheard of, because it's just like, you're the customer, I'm the shopkeeper. Thank you very much. Bye. Like
Right,
it
okay.
seems really cold at first. It can be a bit like culture shock, right? At first, because obviously in the UK we can have a chat with pretty much anybody and it's fine.
If we look at the safety side of things, what would you say are the top 3 safety tips for people to be aware of when they're first visiting Japan?
Well, pickpocketing isn't really as bad as a lot of other countries. Like if you go to a cafe, you can put your bag down and then go and place your order, and it's probably the best place to do it. As I mentioned in the blog, like sexual harassment is kind of a problem. Like I know of quite a few women who've said, yeah, it's happened to me. So if you're traveling in rush hour time, you can actually ride on a women's train, obviously if you're a woman. But that's only available like 6 till 9 a.m. or something like that.
Okay.
Top 3, that was 1, right?
Yeah.
Gosh, I mean, we're going to touch on natural disasters in this question too, or?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Sure,
you
just
should know,
say that
like,
because I think it's huge that, because it's not something that we have to deal with or we even consider. Certainly,
exactly.
I've not really considered it going to any country.
Right, because it's not part of your daily life, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's interesting.
Well, firstly, big earthquakes are pretty rare. Like I've only felt like 2 in the 5-6 years that I've been here, 2 big ones, and the buildings are obviously like built to withstand them. So it's it's like almost impossible that you'll be in a building and it'll collapse from an earthquake, unless you're in a 200-year-old like building, So don't worry about that, but just know that you have to be outside. You should really, if you're near the sea, try to find out where your nearest like safety point is, evacuation point. They'll be on lampposts, even on the floor. It'll say like 100 meters this way to the evacuation zone. Your hotel will probably have information on that too. But Tokyo rarely gets tsunamis. That's why Tokyo is built there, because it's like a safe spot.
Safe spot. Okay. Yeah.
But obviously, like Fukushima, Kumamoto, Kyushu's had really bad floods the past few days from the rain. But don't worry about it the whole time you're there. Just know what you have to do if it does happen.
So is there information that people should know that probably won't know, or is there somewhere that they can find out?
I'm sure there's lots of articles online about it. But yeah, if there's an earthquake and you're indoors, open the door, go outside if you can. If it's a huge one, if you feel a small one, there might be an app you can download too. I'll check if you can download it on your Western phone. But if you use a Japanese phone, they're built in. If there's going to be a big earthquake, it'll give you like a warning. It's only a couple of seconds, but it can help prepare you.
Definitely. No, I think it's huge. I think certainly something that what springs to mind for me is certainly about the culture, which we've touched on now. And then about the natural disasters, I think it's so alien to English travellers that I just think it could catch you off guard. And certainly from what you're saying about the signs, if there was some signage up that said evacuation zone, I think that might spark my interest in, where am I? What's going on here? What are these for?
Well, it's good because it says how many meters above sea level you are as well. So it's like, near our house, we live right next to the beach. So it says 2 meters, hazard zone. Your nearest, safety point is this way towards like a hill nearby. And typhoons as well. Typhoon season is September or October. And last year, There was one of the biggest typhoons to hit in record history.
Wow.
And at that time, we lived in they call it a tower mansion. So the Japanese word mansion doesn't mean our mansion. It means a skyscraper apartment building. Yeah. So we lived on the 34th floor. So
wow.
We were like,
views were incredible.
Oh, I was so lucky to have lived there. Like, it was great. The view was amazing. We could see Tokyo Tower and Tokyo Skytree from the window. So,
Fantastic.
But we could also see the river, right? So when there's this huge typhoon, we were like, okay, no problem. Just bring in the bring in the laundry and close the windows. And oh, look, haha, it's raining. So, we had we just thought, we get typhoons all the time and it's usually just a bit of wind and rain, But then we were watching the river and I was like, that river's very full. Half an hour later, that river is extremely full. Half an hour later, the river has doubled in width.
Wow.
I took some videos. So that happened. And then I looked down from the balcony and like all I could see was water where the roads were.
Wow.
So I was like, let's cook dinner now, like in case the electricity goes off. So we went to bed and then we woke up and the electricity was off. The water was off. We went downstairs. I think it was the night before we went downstairs and the lobby was being flooded. So everyone from the apartment building we'd never met before were there with like towels and sandbags. Like, it was a nice community moment, but it was quite scary because the water was like yay deep outside. And like,
wow.
Yeah. So the morning we woke up and my husband looked at me and said, right, we're going to go to my office in Shibuya, which is also an apartment. He actually like lived there for a while. So we packed up like 2 big backpacks of stuff and went down 34 flights of stairs.
Oh, wow.
In the dark. There was like a lantern on each floor, but it was mental. So we were there with our like phone torches, trying to get down the stairs. And then we were there for 2 weeks at his office before they called us and said, oh, the electricity's back now. It was really quite scary because we heard, we could hear loads of people talking. One person was like, oh, 1 week. One person was like 1 month. One person was like 6 months. We actually had no idea when we'd be able to go home. So, we were fine. There were lots of people who had to stay there and couldn't use the toilet and stuff. So we were okay. But yeah, typhoons are no laughing matter either.
No, certainly not. No.
October's a really nice time to be there. It was a late season typhoon, I think. So like late October is a really nice place, a really nice time to be in Japan because they got the nice food and they got the events and the cool weather. But like September, maybe avoid September if you come because it's typhoon season.
Okay. So what time of year, that leads us on nicely to what time of year do you recommend that people visit, and what kind of things food wise or culture wise do you think people should experience?
So for crowd-wise, January is a great place to visit. It's a great time to visit because obviously, like everyone's back at work, back at school. No one's got any money. So if you can visit in January, try to visit all the the big sightseeing spots. Like Sensoji Temple in Tokyo or the big temples in Kyoto, like Ginkakuji Castle and stuff, Osaka Castle and stuff like that. If you don't like cold weather, May is really nice weather-wise. Like last May was just gorgeous all month because it's right before the humidity hits, but it's late enough to be warm. And like I said, October is really nice too. They have like the nabe hot pot and stuff like that. So some really nice food is available in autumn as well. And winter's nice. Winter has illuminations, which is like light displays everywhere. They have really gorgeous themed illumination events you can go to in December and even early January. They're still up. Summer, I can't recommend summer because I don't like summer very much, and they have loads of crazy insects and centipedes and cockroaches, and I don't know why anyone would visit in summer. But if you love the beach, if you love Disney Sea, it's a good time to go come in summer. So it really depends on what you like. Oh, also you can only climb Mount Fuji in summer as well.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah, it used to be all year round, but lots of people kept dying. So they were like, guys, please just like July to September. Yes. Anyway.
Is there anything else that you would like to tell people about Japan, or tell people who are maybe a little less experienced traveling, looking to go somewhere for a holiday or for a little bit longer? Why would they choose Japan?
Well, if you love culture and history, it's a great place to go because they've preserved it so well. There's so many shrines and temples. Like they've got the big ones, the top 10, but there is honestly one on almost every street. You can find loads of hidden gems. Like we came across one just the other day, and it turned out to be the shogun samurai who established this area. His brother like lived there.
Wow.
And that's just really cool. And we weren't even looking for the shrine, we just came across it. And they're always really well preserved as well. Like people really take care of them. Of course, safety, like Japan is so safe too. You're very unlikely, like if you're a solo traveler especially, you don't have to worry about, I mean, obviously be careful, don't be silly, but you don't have to worry as much about being robbed or mugged or whatever.
And as a female traveler?
Yeah, I mean, I did mention sexual harassment, but it's not a daily occurrence at all, you know, like it's a very rare thing. It could happen anywhere where you are, right? It's not a Japan only thing.
No, certainly. No.
But yeah, like everyone I know who's been to Japan has said that they loved it. Like no one's ever said to me, oh, I've been to Japan, I didn't like it. So it's definitely a place you should visit in your lifetime if you can. And it's apparently going to be a bit cheaper since the tourism industry's suffered a little bit this year. Yeah. So you might get some good deals as well. Who knows?
Well, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And if you come visit Enoshima, that's where I live, and it's a beautiful beach area, and I recommend it.
To get a private tour. Are you giving private tours?
Definitely. I talk about Enoshima a lot on my blog as well, like local restaurants and things like that. So I talk about all of Japan, but especially this area.
Tell us a little bit about your blog.
Well, I haven't done it for that long, but I've been writing about Japan for years. So I've been adding things. It's poppyinjapan.com. So poppyinjapan.com. And yeah, I write about restaurants and temples I found and some language articles as well if you're interested in learning a bit of Japanese before you come. Yeah, I actually have two blogs. One's for books. So if you like books, check out greatbookswithpoppy.com as well.
And what do you talk about there?
Mostly book reviews.
Yeah.
Or some writing tips as well. I've had that blog for a while, but I'm starting to do it a bit more full time now. So yeah, it's really fun, really enjoying it.
Yeah. So obviously now, I mean, the world's been in lockdown for 3 or 4 months. It's been a difficult time. And, the UK, I think, has coped very, very well. And all credit to the people who are, the decision makers. But how has it been over in Japan? How has lockdown been for you? Yeah,
so February, I think, was when it all kicked off, right? Mm-hmm. It's interesting, like, despite Japan being obviously having a lot of Chinese people coming, there was never actually a lockdown. Like, the mayor was saying, please stay at home if you can, only go out for essential reasons. But it was never really enforced. So everyone started wearing, like, masks sold out in days. Like, we couldn't buy masks for several months. We had to keep, like, reusing. You're not supposed to, but what else can we do? The trains were way less crowded, which everyone was like, oh, this is nice. We can actually sit down. But no, compared to like the UK, Europe, we got off lucky, I think. Like, we managed to buy a house during the...
Wow. Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Well, everyone was like, you bought a house during COVID, and my husband was like, yeah, it's the best time. No one else is... There's no one else at the agency, but lots of restaurants around here closed. Like the street, which is the really famous street from Enoshima Station towards the beach, was like empty, and all the restaurants were closed. They're finally reopening, which is nice. But honestly, compared to like other countries, we got off lucky, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So you're pretty much back to normal, fully up and running now?
Yeah, pretty much. The only difference is more people are wearing masks, and they're very strict. Like I was in the hospital the other week, not for anything bad, but they were like, okay, gargle, wash your hands again. Like they're very strict, which is good. It's good, great. Every shop has hand sanitizer near the doors. They're very thorough. Obviously, they're seeing what's happening overseas, and we have a high aging population too, so we especially have to be careful.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same here now. It's 2 to 3 people in a shop, in small shops, 1 to 2 people, and They've got the hand
Oh, really?
sanitizer out. They've got the 2 meters or whatever the distance is now marked. So it is. I like what you say about it's a nicer experience, because I think for us here, people do give you a little bit more respect in your space and your personal space. And then going in around the shops, they are far less crowded. It is a far nicer shopping experience now when you haven't got people running about and, you know, in your space all the time. So I hope
You got
some
to
of the
find the
positives.
silver lining. You got to find
Yeah,
the
of
silver
course.
lining,
You
right?
know, you've got to have the good bits. And the roads have been quiet. You know, you can see now everything's starting to get busy and everything's getting back to normal, which is great because there's a lot of energy coming back into the cities and all that kind of thing, which is fantastic. But yeah, I hope we do preserve some of that kind of, you know, love we've got for people again, and that kind of caring
Yeah, there's
nature.
bigger
You know,
sense of communities sort of
hugely,
sprung out, which is
hugely.
lovely.
Yeah. There's some
Some good
people
things
doing
will
some
come
great.
from this.
I hope so. But yeah, we get back into travel again, and then people can start
Yes,
traveling and
you
seeing the
know,
world.
my father and my grandmother were supposed to be coming in May and they couldn't come. So we were disappointed about that.
No, definitely. Well, how do you keep in touch with people? Or how
Oh,
regularly do you keep in touch with people when you're living over there?
I mean, you know, we have social media, we message a lot, we sometimes voice chat. Um, so,
Have you had your
I mean,
friends and family come out to visit since you've been living there?
yeah, my mum's come over twice. My brothers came the beginning of last year. That was a laugh. That was great.
Fantastic.
I can't wait to have them back. It was so much fun having them here because it's both their first time as well. So it's a totally new experience for them.
And
I'm
do
hoping
they see?
yeah.
Sorry, do they see why you like it? Do they share that love for the country?
I think the younger brother who came, Callum, he was like, "Oh, I really enjoy being here." I was like, "Yeah, right. Like, you can't explain it. You just like being here." So he can't wait to get back.
Yeah.
When he can, of course. Even my mum was like, "Right, as soon as lockdown's over, I'm booking a ticket. I don't care." I was like, "Do it." So yeah, hopefully my dad and my grandma can make it over as well.
And how do they feel about the decision? Because when I went traveling, I disappeared for a couple of years, and then I was living in France for a while. So, and it was always difficult on the family. But and how were they with your decision to move there full time?
I remember thinking, they're not bothered at all. like they were really super supportive. Like if they had doubts, they didn't tell me. I think, especially maybe because it was Japan as well, and they knew it was quite safe, and they knew how badly I'd wanted to go for such a long time. They were very proud. Like especially my mum, she was like, "Oh, I'm so happy. Yeah, you could finally go. You've wanted to. I'm sorry I couldn't take you," kind of thing. So if they've had qualms, they haven't mentioned them. Which at first I was like, okay, but it's a good thing. Of course, it's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. So you've got a lot going on. You've got a busy life now. You're busy on your websites with your blogs and your work and your where do you feel's next for you travel wise? Because you're quite an experienced traveler now. You've lived in different countries. You've you know, where's next on your list that you would like to go?
Well, we're quite settled here, but I'd love to visit New Zealand at some point. My husband lived there for a few years before he met me, and that's where he learned most of his English. And he always says how lovely it is. So I'd love to go there. Of course, it's the home of Lord of the Rings too, right? So, and I have a cousin there as well, like a second cousin. So why not? I'd love to go there. Yeah.
Oh, it's a fantastic country. When you're traveling, when you're living, is there any mantras that you live by for travel or for safety? Is there anything that you think, oh yeah, I always do this, or I always make sure that I've checked that before I go?
Oh, I get really paranoid about like my passport. Like I always need it in sight. Of course, if I'm in a hotel, I'll leave it in the hotel in the safe. But from the moment I leave my house to the moment I step on the plane, I'm like passport, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Whether I'm alone or not. But of course, yeah. I mean, I always try to exercise common sense. Like I won't do anything I wouldn't do at home in my home country.
I think that's a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like if I'm on my own, I won't like drink too much or, you know, go somewhere I don't know is safe, which is very important. It can be easy to kind of get carried away, especially if you're with friends when you're on holiday, right? Like most of the problems I mentioned in the blog post was people just drinking too much, especially in the Kabukicho area in Shinjuku, just getting silly. And And that can happen anywhere, right? Just because you're on holiday doesn't mean you're safe. So.
Yeah, of course. Is that tourist? Would you say that the Japanese are a big drinking culture, or they like to get drunk, or?
Yes, they love it.
Definitely.
There's a whole Instagram dedicated to like passed out businessmen, but they don't. I mean, there's exceptions everywhere, right? But whereas if in the UK, if there's 5 drunken guys, they're probably going to fight at some point, right? Maybe. Maybe, but in Japan it's more like the boss. There's a weird drinking culture in business. Like if the boss gives you a drink, you have to drink it. Like you can't say no, I've had enough. Okay. So there's a lot of like 20-year-old men, like 20 is the drinking age, and they're really good about not drinking underage here as well. So he's totally inexperienced and he's just like on the street somewhere, and, but yeah, like it's a big social thing as well. Like oh, let's have a drink, like kanpai, like. That's how you get to know someone. And people, because they're quite shy naturally as well, they'll loosen up with alcohol too. Like I've had some of the best conversations with people when we've had some drinks. They really open up and get super friendly, which is great. So it's a big drinking culture, but not in such a negative way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's something that I think from an outsider's point of view, you'd look at it and you'd go, oh, well, no, probably not. When you look at Japan as a whole, you'd probably think, oh no, they're probably
that they're very mild and no, the men can drink.
The men can put it away.
But if you're strong with alcohol, you can make some friends. Be like, oh, I can handle my alcohol, because a lot of them are quite lightweight. Even if they drink a lot, they're still quite, compared to Westerners, they're quite lightweight. So they'll be like, oh wow, you can drink all that sake and you feel fine. Like, so you feel like showing off while you're there. I mean, drink responsibly, but you can make some friends if you love sake anyway. Or
do you like sake?
Yeah, I like it. I'll usually drink. They have a liqueur. It's kind of a liqueur called shochu, and I'll have that with juice or cola or ginger ale or something. That's what I usually drink. But yeah, I like sake. You can have it cold or hot. Yeah, I just have flashbacks to like university sake shots.
The good old days.
Not recommended. Don't mix your drinks.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah, very true. Okay then, Poppy, so thank you. In summary, thank you ever so much for chatting to us today.
Thank you too, I had a great time.
Yeah, it's been lovely to catch up, and thank you, very insightful stuff about Japan.
No problem. If you enjoyed the podcast, then please follow my blog. It's poppyinjapan.com. And my Instagram is poppyinjapanofficial. And my Twitter is also poppyinjapan. I post Instagram photos like every day. So if you love pictures of Japan and pretty dresses, then give us a follow. And I post new blog posts every Monday and Friday.
Fantastic. Now, we'll be sharing them on Caroline's Rainbow Foundation's social media as well.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate it.
No, thank you. It's great. I mean, we're just trying to get advice out to people and information. So
yeah, I hope my information was useful.
Yeah, certainly. Well, it's unique in the sense that you live there, you're immersed into it, you've been there a long time, and it's information that you don't normally get. It's the things that aren't necessarily in the guidebooks, which is what we're trying to get to, really.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Poppy, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to this episode of our Safer Travel Talk podcast series. If you enjoyed and you'd like to hear more, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you'd like to know more or get involved in the series, visit carolinesrainbowfoundation.org/podcasts and follow us on social media to keep up to date. Thank you to Richard Stuttle for hosting the podcast and Chris Healy for producing.